What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Bankroll Blitz. Bobby's actually out this week tending to his son. We wish him the best of luck. But we have Josh Lander and Stu, Monotone Football, joining us. Stu, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem. Obviously, I love Bobby. Hope all is well with him and his family, but couldn't be more happy to be here. Love talking props, and you guys are some very smart fellas.
I appreciate that. Last week, I'm gone back-to-back weeks winning. I always say I'm a stats better more than what I see on the field, and it's hard to win without data. So I can kind of see it. The tides are turning. Back-to-back weeks of winning is pretty nice. Josh, anything stick out from you last week that you want to talk about?
Nothing stuck out. I mean, there were some big favorites last week, and we got the same thing because we got the Bills at home this week. We've got the Dolphins at home against the Panthers. And now we've got the 49ers against PJ Walker, which is really what we're looking at when that spread rose from, it opened in some places like 3.5, quickly to 5.5. And then now we look at a lot of 10s, 10.5s. Maybe you can find it 9.5 at some places, but that continues to be the story for me because last week I bet the favorites, including the Lions, and I still am like, look, I know a lot of the either it's ATS stats or just some of the massive spreads that might scare people. But when I look at certain numbers, if I can get certain games under 2 touchdowns right now, I think that's literally a discrepancy between a team like the Bills and a team like the New York Pee Wee football Giants.
Your New York Giants, so we got to make sure.
He doesn't know that. We doesn't know.
Stu, anything early in the season that kind of jumps out at you?
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of mentioned the gap between these good teams and these bad teams seems to be widening a little bit more than we expected. Obviously, a team like the Panthers kind of sticks out to me. That's been a team I've been fading all year long. Obviously, you just have the number 1 overall pick. You know, it's not like the future's too bright. I mean, just from this week to last week, the totals, right? Last week we saw a bunch of high total games. I don't know about you guys. I was all over that Rams-Eagles game, and it just killed me. I had the 46.5. It closed at 50. They should have just gave me my money at that point. Right? I feel like I earned it.
You cash.
But no, it didn't cash. This week, no high totals, right? It's a lot of kind of more mediocre, these mid-tier. We even see the low 30s with that 49ers game. So I just noticed across the board, the totals are down a little bit this week.
Yeah, I was I don't think I'm ever going to have a more fun total than that Bills-Dolphins game. And I've been like kind of just afraid to play them after that game. Not mad that I cashed, but that was just like too easy. You know, when you have those easy cashes, the books always want to come back for blood. I'll kick things off with my first play. And I've been teasing some games. I've been trying to get teams higher. I realize this is not available to everyone, so I will preface this by saying you can take 7-point teaser. I played it to 8. 7's plus 130, 8 is plus 105 if your book lets you. I teased the Patriots here, plus they get them to plus 11. I just really like, I don't want to say I like this Patriots team. I like getting through the number, the 10 number here. I think that I'm not sold on Jimmy G. I'm not sold on this this running attack of the Las Vegas Raiders, who are literally giving Josh Jacobs the ball but not getting any push. At what point do we want to say that it's not just the rust from not playing in camp, right? They're just something schematically is not working. Maybe they're telling their hand a little bit more than they want to. And the Patriots are due for a bounce back after getting slobbered last week. We were on the Saints. I know Josh was as well, and that was the correct call, but I think a good bounce spot there. The next one that I'm on is, we just talked about them off air, Seahawks plus 11 against the Bengals. I don't mind if you guys think the Bengals are going to win. I think the Bengals are really live to win this, but getting 11 points for a Seattle team that's going to be able to get pressure on Joe Burrow is going to be fun. I'm also going to fade them in a way by taking a wide receiver in this game, but that's not necessarily a fade on the outcome of the game. It's just really testing the young corners that they have and seeing how much we're going to be able to blow the top off this defense and how many shots the Bengals are going to be able to take. We'll see what happens. And then the last leg, this number's gone all over the place. Bills minus 6.5. Right now it's minus 7. I'm still okay with that. The Bills have one of the highest cover percentages for spreads, 13.5 or higher. It's going to be a Giants team who's without Andrew Thomas. They're out with their guard. Obviously, Daniel Jones is out. They're going to be hanging on for dear life. The Bills, when they're at home and they're playing against weaker opponents, they love to smash them. So that's my first one. I'll go through that rundown, quick road time. Patriots plus 11, Seahawks plus 11, and Bills minus 6.5 for plus 105.
And that was 8 points, right?
Yep.
8 points, 8 points each.
Yeah, 8 points each.
Yep, I understand the Patriots pick. I do. It is a better situation. You're right. I was on the Saints. I was not on the Saints to win 34-0. So
I actually took Saints +1.
Yeah, there you go. You're like, maybe I need a little bit more to give you over the edge. The Seahawks I like because like I want to play the Seahawks so bad, but I don't trust them to win this game. With the out there is that the Bengals are kind of back on offense, and if T. Higgins plays, they only get a little bit better. I'm tired of watching Joe Mixon run into the back of his offensive line. It's just wild. Like, when do we go? Maybe he's not who we thought he was anymore at this point. I think we're getting there with him. But either way, like Jamar Chase is going to freaking gorge on that. Like, he's not even going to eat. He's going to gorge. I know it sounds chalky, but I just feel when I see something that the matchup plus the situation of them being like, why would I stop doing that? If I'm Joe Burrow, why would I stop feeding Jamar Chase on every down that I can? I'm going to keep doing it. So yeah, I that's what scares me, is that the Seahawks, maybe I should give them a bit more credit. Like we were talking about off air and you brought it up, Stu, that like there's some really solid players in that defensive secondary, which makes it really surprising that in 4 games, they gave up 5 wide receivers to opposing touchdowns to opposing wide receivers, which is like good for They're still in like the bottom 6 against wide receivers in total stats and yards and touchdowns, and they've got a bye week under their belt as well, so they played 1 less game, and that's the volume that they're still giving up to opposing wide receivers. So I'm going on a tangent there because I'm excited about that one, but I'll just say my segue real quick. Well, let me ask you, Phil, Stu, do you have anything to add to that before, because I can segue off the Bills basically?
No, yeah, I like that a lot. I was going to say, for anyone questioning that Patriots leg, I think that'll be the most controversial, right? Are you really trusting Jimmy G to cover by margin? Is that really something you're comfortable doing, right? I mean, I teased the Steelers against them the other week for that same exact reason. Jimmy G over a touchdown is never the side you want to be on.
Well said. Yeah, I would fully. I mean, Jimmy G on the end of a pass that's going more than like 8 yards is not going to happen. So it's like, yeah, he's not going to get the ball that far downfield to be able to blow teams out. So for my first pick, like I'll just say it's a parlay, and I've the only team you didn't talk about so far is the Niners, because it's a 2-team. But what I did was I bought a half a point for the Niners because I had to get it down to 9.5. I just wanted it under 10. That defense is really good. I'm not comfortable taking that Browns defense. It is legit. So I'm not necessarily comfortable taking more than the 2 scores there in terms of the 10. And then I bought a full point because it was already at 14.5 when I got to it for the Bills. So I got them down to minus 13.5. There's still 14.5s out there, but I think most books have minus 15.5. For this parlay, I would still buy 2 points just to get the Bills under 2 touchdowns. Maybe I'm being silly about it because I'm sort of like slowly breaking away from my teases when I feel comfortable about stuff, and like getting away from wearing the sort of swimmies when I'm in the pool, and just really going, because a lot of the times in the last couple of weeks, it's something people talk about. Like, I tease games where it's like, you didn't even need to do that. You just lost so much juice. And so I'm going to give it a shot. I'm just going to be a little bit more risky about it, but I'm still buying a few points to get me into numbers that I like, but it's only 1 point here, half a point there, and plus 224 on that parlay for those 2 teams. Like you touched on the Bills. The Giants are just awful. The Browns, this was a really good trap game to take the Browns if Deshaun Watson was playing, if they were healthy on offense like that. It was a really good scenario, and it's just not anymore. It's such as the way that the respect that you need to give the 49ers when they're playing a guy like PJ Walker, and when they're playing a team that, like, outside of that, there's not much there anymore. They're going to be able to lock people up. That defense is just littered with all-pro talent. It's absolutely insane. They just signed Gregory to their team as well now on the defensive line to play alongside the other studs. So yeah, I mean, just to keep them there, I think their offense is going to be able to open up things. That's what Kyle's offense rather is going to be, is just like get your guys into space against, even in man. I think they've got the speed to run away. So there's just not much that the Browns are going to be able to do. It might be a low scoring game, but I think 10 is still a right number for them.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good spot right there. And two, when you talk about this 49ers team, what do you think of so far this year? It's dominance, right? They're not only winning games, they're covering and they're dominating. And man, it's just PJ Walker. How can you trust him to possibly keep them in this game? I mean, what would the team total be for the Browns that you'd feel comfortable betting it this week, guys? Because I don't
11.5.
Yeah, I would have to take like 6.5. Like, that would probably be it. Like, one of those college football team totals for lower ranked teams.
My favorite way to phrase it, Jerome Ford is their shortest touchdown odds at plus 300. for their team.
Yeah, well, because they're not going to get it through the air, and then if they like, it's going to be tough. Like I could legitimately see them not scoring a single point in this game
or touchdown at the very least. Do you think anything about Jerome Ford? I just, not to derail us, but like I was thinking like 13.5 receiving yards. Where else is he going to throw the ball other than like a little out route to Jerome Ford? Yeah. So I think 13.5 might be a good play there, but
I stayed away from anything that was them that wasn't fading them. For the Browns. I just wasn't like I wasn't comfortable thinking of what could happen positive for them, especially if it's one of those games where it's a blowout early, kind of like who did the 49ers play early in the season? I'm drawing a blank, but pretty much, yeah, the Steelers. Pretty much everyone didn't play late in the game, and so you kind of were like, well, all my bets are screwed, and for any Steelers bet, so that's why I kind of stayed away. Stu, give us your first pick.
Sounds good. I'll go over into the prop world right here. We're going to a play that has 100% hit rate so far this year. Bryce Young, under 32.5, longest completion, -110 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. Like I said, he hasn't cleared this once so far this year. He is actually the worst quarterback in the NFL in terms of air yards per attempt, which means he is not looking down the field whatsoever. Additionally, on throws of 20 air yards or more, he has a 33% completion percentage so far this season, which is tied for second worst in the NFL. So he's not looking downfield. And when he is looking downfield, right, he's not actually making those, amazing throws that a Josh Allen kind of guy, would. And what's the one thing we know about this Dolphins team? Fangio has kind of almost single-handedly brought us into this era of these cover two shell defenses. He's kind of the godfather of that coverage scheme, and that's exactly what we've seen so far with the Dolphins. The priority, keep throws in front of you, bring those safeties back. Let's, beat us 10 yards at a time. You're not going to take away explosive plays. We're not going to allow you to throw the ball 30 yards down the field. Additionally, when we look at these big plays, beyond how a quarterback generates them, right, a Josh Allen, let's think about how a team like the Dolphins generates them. It's with extremely skilled yards after catch players like Tyreek Hill, like Jalen Waddle, who dominate in a great scheme. That's not really the case. Who's going to be that guy? Adam Thielen is coming off one of the most inefficient seasons we've seen a wide receiver to have in a long time. He's playing better this year. I don't have a problem with the guy, but he's not a yak monster. He's going to give you that 7 for 70, 10 yards a catch, slowly getting you down the field, up the middle. We got Mingo on the outside, who has not done much so far in his career, a converted tight end, not someone I'm really looking to kill you down the field. Finally, DJ Chark would be the one guy that would kind of fit that mold. But like I said, he hasn't cleared this once so far this year. He has a sub 15% target share in this offense. I don't see much of a hope. I really don't. I mean, I feel bad. The minute I watched this offensive line in preseason, I kind of knew it was going to be a rough year. I didn't know it was going to be this bad. I don't want to claim that much credit, but rough offensive line. I'm not really seeing any reason why he would go over this number. I think the one reason it hasn't moved is because nobody cares about this market and so few people are betting it. Like, truly.
That was my actual thought when you were talking about it. I was like, well, if it hasn't cleared once, oh, right. It's just this obscure player prop that like only the Stews of the world are finding to like bet with their money and win, by the way, which is a smart way to play this.
I don't think anybody's even betting this game. It's going to be weird weather in Miami. It's going to be rainy. I don't know if you touched on that. It's going to be rainy to start the game, but it's thunderstorms. So you could imagine the game getting delayed in the middle of the game. And, they have one of those sleepy restarts. I love everything you said about that. And my favorite part was like, these wide receivers are not the kind to stretch the field, especially it's hard to stretch the field when you're not protecting your quarterback. Two of my favorite points from what you said there.
Yeah, they are riddled with injuries for this game all over the field as well, including now Miles Sanders added to the injury report. I think they have like half of their defensive backfield is out. I think the numbers just trump all of it, man.
Hubbard now.
Chuba Hubbard. Hopefully you picked him up at some point in fantasy. He's playing now. Yeah, it's gonna be tough to watch that game. I think you said that no one's necessarily gonna be tuning in, but that's a really good bet, man. Zig on everyone's zag because no one's paying attention to this stuff. That's why it's still right.
Chuba Hubbard is right now is 11.5 juice to the over for carries. Wow. I probably would play that though. I think in the rain, they're going to try to run the ball. You're going to have to get it probably by the third quarter because I expect them to
Well,
be
I
down
mean,
big.
the thing is, last week we saw, I mean, yeah, you guys talked about having the Lions, like they couldn't move the ball down 30 points, right? That's
Yeah.
like really concerning, right? When you're in
Yep.
garbage time against prevent defense and you still can't move the ball. So in my head, it's kind of the same thing of like playing a Jerome Ford of like they don't have any other choice. These guys are almost guaranteed that 13-ish kind of ugly carries for 30
Yeah.
yards because they don't have anywhere else to look.
Totally.
Yep. Totally agree. I'm going to go to another player prop. Jamar Chase over 85.5 receiving yards. I think this, it's a young secondary. Do they have individually talented players? Yes. Are they still learning to work together, be a cohesive unit? Yes. They're 25th in the NFL in pass D rank, and they're allowing 98 yards per game to wide receiver ones. Jamar Chase, since his rant, I think he's going to be targeted. We saw it last game. He's 7-11, always open. I like this number a lot. I'm probably going to play 100 plus and a touchdown. It's going to be funny because Jamar Chase is one of those guys where no matter how bad the season is, he always can pop, and the sports books know that. So you're never going to get the odds that you want for any like exotic plays or combo plays.
But hey, that's what happens when you have one of the best players in the league and you're still betting on them, right? I get what you mean. You don't get that like hidden value, but at the end of the day, those hidden value guys have a chance to have 0 yards that week as well, right? We know
Yep.
Jamar Chase is getting the ball. And kind of like you mentioned, ever since they said the whole, I'm always open kind of thing, he's getting like 4-yard targets, 3-yard. It's literally like give him the ball and let him go to work. So that's exactly what I love with the wide receiver one.
Without question, man. And yeah, I mean, say what you want about the defensive secondary for the Seahawks having some really talented names back there. Like you said, like I still haven't quite seen it against a team that might be having a pretty solid day through the air in that one. I mean, yeah, I was all over that. I actually was going to use Jamar Chase as well. Probably maybe talk about him in touchdowns when we talk about that. But I'll move on to mine because I'm going to go to an under here. I think it's time to talk about it. Sam Howell, I'm going under 242.5. This has actually risen, I believe, from like 230 to 235, and I think it's all been pushed all the way up to 242.5 because he just came off a 288-yard passing game on national television against a much worse defensive pass defense than they played that week, right? Like then they're going to play this week rather. Like the Falcons, this is part of what they do. Not only do they have good numbers against the pass because they've been a solid defense at all 3 levels, like solid, like they are just a good, not great defense at all 3 levels. Although I could argue Tyler Bates is having a really solid season and that was a solid pickup. But like what they do is they run the ball and they just slow it down. They've mucked it up. Like Arthur Smith on the Titans was a fun watch. Arthur Smith as head coach of the Falcons, not quite as fun of a watch, man. Not really using guys like the other weapons outside the running backs, not using them as creatively this season in a way that is just like, okay, I guess we're just doing 4 yards down the field each time because the right side of that line plus their center all great in like the top 10 in terms of run offense right now, and they're getting rush yards for their running backs. So I think that's really the crux of my argument for Sam Howell not being able to pass. On top of the fact that Atlanta allows the 7th least passing yards, it's yards per attempt. They're allowing the 8th shortest amount there as well. You can't really convert on them. That was a really big thing. They are shutting you down on 3rd down as well. They're 5th best in their opponent 3rd down conversion percentage, which just adds to their pace of play being slow and them out snapping their opponents a lot and not even like getting out snapped that much when they lose because they're still moving the ball decently well from like 25 to like 50 to fit 45 on the other side, right? But they're just not getting past that with any sort of big plays because if you can't really get more than 7 to 8 yards of play max, at some point you're going to be in trouble. And I think that's where they find themselves.
Yeah, and I just want to say too, I'm really glad you actually mentioned that top 5 in stopping 3rd downs because Washington's actually the 5th worst team in terms of 3rd down conversion as well. And right, you can't move the ball down the field if you can't extend drives, and that's really Washington's problem this year. They can't extend these drives. They're putting their defense on the field for a crazy amount of time, and then they're getting torched down the field as well. And like you said, the Falcons want to murk this game up. Bijan Robinson 16 carries, Tyler Algier 7 more. Ritter's going to carry himself 5 times. It's going to be an ugly one.
Agreed.
Yeah, I like that. It's funny because not a lot of people think that a lot of people think that the Falcons are only only limit their opposing quarterbacks a few yards because of how much time they control, time of possession. But they actually have a really good and talented secondary, which is pretty cool. Go ahead, Stu. Give us your second pick.
Sounds good. I'm going to go to a spread that absolutely no one is talking about this week. Just a little sidetrack here. On my show so far this year, I'm undefeated in my dog of the week. And this is my dog of the week this week. I'm going with the Buccaneers +3.
Fire the cannons.
Okay, you're with me?
I'm a Bucs fan.
No one's with me so far. This is the play that you're like, your kind of friend, you're like kind of coworker that you don't really know that well is texting you that you need to empty your bank account and you can get the Lions, the amazing Lions, at only -150 this week. Lock of the week. I mean, this is the craziest line. Every single week I do the opening line report. It opened at 3. It hasn't budged once, but in some spots you can get the Lions at 2.5. It's moving the exact wrong way, right? And I'm not really one of these people that's super into the line movement, but you have to understand these sports books are taking a ton of action and they're comfortable with their line, right? There's clearly something they're seeing in this team. And I like it. I was on the win total before the season started. I think Baker Mayfield is a solid quarterback that can be a game manager. And I think that's what this team needs. Good rush defense, good offensive line. We've got some pieces in the secondary as well. The Lions are the highest high right now, and they're still only 3-point favorites. They're not getting any respect in market right here. They just demolished a terrible team. It's clearly Vegas is not taking that into, enough, I guess. For me, it's just one of those spots where I see no one in the world arguing for the Bucs. I see a team that plays close games. I think they can cover, and I think they could even win outright here.
Go Bucs. That makes me so excited to hear. But you actually said this, and it really does feel like everyone's going to be hammering the Lions. Like, it just feels like, dude, your group chat's going to probably say it like, yo, the Lions, we got to bet the Lions. We got to bet the Lions. I said this on Gold Boys Live. It's going to be the creamsicle game too. So they should be a little bit more amped. First time bringing those back in quite some time.
True.
Yeah, I'm staying away. I'm be honest with you. I wish I had the balls to do that as well, because I've spent the last week and a half pumping up the Lions, to be honest, and being like, don't tell me that these performances against teams that they might be better than aren't very, very impressive. The way that they're winning them, controlling both lines of scrimmage. That's my big thing with them, is like when I find a team that has both like a top 10 offensive and defensive line, I really like grip into them. And I'm like, all right, let's keep riding it. Cause I know that like if they can pressure the quarterback and they can keep their quarterback safe, they're going to be in a good spot to win. Then I look at the weapons and I say, well, Jared Goff hasn't really had to do much. He hasn't been his same bad self on the road. All of that said, I've also been the Bucs' biggest supporter as far as like, well, no, man, I took them against the Saints, took them opening week against the Vikes. So like, yeah, I've loved them as well in multiple spots. But I think my two loves are coming together in a way that I'm like, I'm just staying away, but I really support your cojones. And if I was going to bet on it, I would take the dog here at home.
I think I am going to take Aiden Hutchinson to get a sack. I have to look at the line. I don't know what it is, but I do feel like Baker should hold the ball a little bit too long against him. That's just something a little adverse there. I'm gonna go with my final play. I did we have to talk about baseball at some point. Say baseball a lot. So when YouTube pulls up the transcription, they hear National League, MLB, World Series, all the SEO, Bryce Harper, Castellanos. I'm going to parlay Phillies to win the National League. I just think the Phillies right now feel like a team of destiny. Their bats are hot. Their pitching is out of their mind when you can go with Wheeler, Nola, and then have Suarez go and get you 4 to 5 really good innings in 3-game span. It's pretty nice. And then I took Eagles money line against the Jets. So I got a little bit of a tiff with someone on the internet when I said that the Jets should trade for Kirk Cousins. There's no time like the present. And they told me that Zach Wilson, they said it's a sorry ass narrative that's being pushed, that Zach Wilson is more than enough for this Jets team. Zach Wilson against pressure is one of the worst graded quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm going to say these in PFF numbers. So if you guys want to go check out PFF.com, I don't have a promo code, so I don't get any money, but I just a site I really like. He has a 55 ranking out of 100 under pressure. His best performance of his career was a 77 overall out of 100. We're talking about a Kirk Cousins whose average is 78 out of 100, top 10 quarterback in the NFL right now. Well, what's good about this Philadelphia Eagles team versus this Jets offensive line is the Eagles will get a ton of pressure on said quarterback who struggles against pressure. I don't know if it's going to be a pretty game for the Eagles. I don't think so because the Jets defense is good, but ultimately I'm banking on Jalen Hurts and this really talented offense to score more points than this Jets defense Jets offense that's going to be under fire the entire game. It pays out plus 107 too.
I have thoughts for sure, and I agree with all of it. Even your Phillies take, by the way. Love the Phillies take as well. I'm also riding with them. Have been, we talked about on Go Boys as well. Lost my AL squad. Well, I have plenty. Let's not get into it. Let's go back to what you're saying. I'm just about to go down a rabbit hole. But as far as the final game there, yeah, like I think you can still take the 7 even. To be honest, I think there's a bit of disrespect in the line, and I think it's not necessarily intended disrespect as much as it's like we just got to see Zach Wilson twice, and we listened to a full week of him being better than Pat Mahomes for 60 minutes in a game. Where like it's kind of like when your older brother's playing you in one-on-one in the driveway, and it's just like watching you shoot things he could have blocked. It's kind of what I feel like Pat Mahomes was doing. He's like, let the kid have his shine. I'll slide at the 4 at the end of the game so we can win, and I'll just get us all the way down to the 4, not even get any more points, and we'll win by 3 because I'm literally toying with my food, as he's now done in multiple weeks in a row, and when he just did it with the Broncos as well. So all that said, there's just so much overvalue on Zach Wilson that like I hit it at 6.5. I was like, Eagles under a touchdown against Zach Wilson. God bless. That's the only game I bet on the Pats this season, was when I was like, oh, Bill Belichick against Zach Wilson. I don't need to know anything else. Like it could be his girls like flag football team. I'd be like, okay, I'll take Bill Belichick against Zach Wilson. So that's my heavy-handed support for everything you just said, Brad.
I love it. You made me smile.
Yeah, I'm a notorious Philly hater, and I unfortunately even have to like this play as well. I mean, on both sides, like you mentioned, the Zach Wilson hype, I was never buying. It seems like a lot more people than I expected are buying. I'm not quite sure why right here, but I completely agree. And then that Philly side, yeah, I don't know if Arizona's ready for noise like that, baby. That's a tough ballpark to march into. And I said, I hate to see it. I really do. I'm jealous of it. I wish I had that, but yeah, I like that combo right there. I'm surprised you're getting such a good price on 2, in my opinion, very heavy favorites right there.
Agreed. Yeah, it sounds like you're a Commanders fan. I'm a Giants fan, and so yeah, we hate having to like buy into the parlay of brotherly bullshit or whatever, but it works. I totally agree. Let me close this out with one more, at least on this part of it, the one more prop here. And I'm gonna take James Cook. Like, look, just blindly bet on the opposing RB1 who's taking on the New York Giants right now. You would have hit a touchdown for every one of those players all 6 or 5 weeks of the season so far, and you'd be up nearly 7 units at that point if you just put a full unit on, like I said, that. And that's what I'm gonna do in this one. I'm gonna play him both ways. James Cook over rushing 56.5. Feel even better about that. The touchdown though, I still got it plus 105. Still think that's available, that number out there. Hopefully by the time we get this up here in a little bit, that'll still be around. Even if it's even money or so, still happy with a James Cook. Like I can't ever talk myself into 2+ with him because Josh Allen and or Damian Harris might take something from him in that sense. But as far as the yards are concerned, that's easy to me. I mean, if you want, I might play that up to like 70 if you want, but the 56.5, I'm still happy with. Like they'll be running on it's a positive game script from the jump. They're up 2 scores. They can do whatever they want on offense at any time. They know that they can limit this offense with their defense, which is riddled with injuries. So like if the Bills were playing a team that wasn't the New York Giants, I might be like, let's take pause here and think about it. But not against this team. I'm not worried about their ability to get to the quarterback on Mr. Neal and company on the offensive line for the Giants. So yeah, I think the yards are there. The touchdown is also there. Like however you want it. He's not really losing red zone carries anymore. Is Cook to Harris. Like that was a little bit of a narrative to start the season in the first 2 to 3 weeks. Then 3 games in a row before they went to London, where 0 running backs had any carries inside the red zone for the Bills against the Jags. But the 3 prior games, he out-carried Harris in the red zone. He had 3 red zone touches in each of those 3 games. So that narrative is out the door for me. He'll probably score from outside the red zone, if we're being honest, and I won't have to worry about it. But I think both of those bets for him, solid little tandem bet for James Cook.
Yeah, no, and that's a guy with a really safe floor too. I kind of said this earlier
Yeah.
in the year. He's a guy you can like pencil in for like 45 to 60 yards every week, almost automatically, just based on how good this passing attack is, the lack of stacked boxes he's going to have to face. It's just a very safe floor. And now we have blowout potential that really, doesn't hurt the ceiling whatsoever, right? It kind of
Yeah.
opens it up because now we're going to be ahead all game. We don't really need Josh Allen chucking the ball 40 times a game, right? Which opens up all those later game carries. So definitely like the bounce back look here.
Yeah. And I would just add, don't take receiving stuff. People have gotten burned by taking receiving stuff for running backs playing the Giants. They give up a good amount of yards, but like if you're playing the Giants, just run the ball and get at least 5 yards, or throw the ball 30 yards downfield with Diggs or Davis, and you'll probably be successful as well. You don't really need the little intermediate small 4-yard receptions,
Yeah, that's totally fair. Go ahead, Stu. Give me your third one.
Sounds good. We're going to go over to my Commanders, end it off here. We're going Logan Thomas over 34.5 receiving yards. And I know you brought up earlier, Sam, Howell under, but these two props were actually at their best last week, right? When Howell went under and and Logan Thomas dominated and went over, right? And I said at the beginning of the week, I almost wish that Logan Thomas did nothing last week, because this is kind of like the mecca of tight end matchups right here. Mm-hmm. The Falcons have allowed every tight end they faced to go over this so far this year. And what I really like is kind of going step by step and, figuring out what a team is really good at and kind of going process of elimination right here. Very good at eliminating opposing wide receiver ones. That makes a lot of sense. Obviously, with AJ Terrell on the outside, allowing only 0.87 yards per route run so far this season. Additionally, they're playing the second most press coverage out of any team in the league. And guess what? Terry McLaurin's efficiency takes a big dip, right? So that's their major weapon on the outside. Additionally, 7th DVOA against opponent running backs, right? So Brian Robinson is someone I see having a harder time, especially after he struggled last week. What else are they good at? They're the number one team at limiting opposing running back receptions, right? So a guy like Antonio Gibson or Brian Robinson, the linebackers are clearly more focused on stopping those guys in the receiving game. And this just opens up the ultimate opportunity for Logan Thomas to continue to eat over the middle. He's kind of those safety blanket targets. Sam Howell's first read on a surprising amount of targets so far this season. And I think that's the clear way you beat this Atlanta team. It's over the middle. We've seen every tight end have success so far. Sam Howell has been locked into the tight end position since his first snap of preseason. I was there. I have a lot of Cole Turner and Beth to be honest. I didn't even think Logan Thomas is going to be healthy to start the season, but the guy looks better than he has in the last 3 years. I was a hater for a long time, but he's looking good out there, and I think this is a good spot to buy.
I took Logan Thomas last week, over 2.5 receptions. Okay. And I genuinely thought I was going to be sweating it a little bit. I was like, the numbers suggest that it's going to hit, but it hit so fast and so soon. Do you have anything to add to that, Josh?
Just that had to be the biggest disparity between outcome and projection by a book that all week in that market, without question. Who else had 7 more and like 12 like that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about it on Gold Boys, where I'm just like, we have to take Logan Thomas here. Like, I don't know if this is a good bet, but data's just literally telling us we have to take him. And I was happy for that. Let's get to our touchdown parlay, because I'm betting on a guy who scored touchdowns in 4 straight games, yet is still plus 200. I'm taking Gabe Davis to score a touchdown there. I checked out the weather. Weather's still going to be solid. Buffalo Bills like getting him involved. He is their deep threat. I think he's like number 6 in the NFL in deep ball targets. And he has a very high catchable ball percentage. So basically, catchable target rate, which means they're not just chucking the ball when he's like double covered. They're throwing the ball and he's open, which helps for those touchdown marks. Also, I think it's going to be a bloodbath, which kind of helps me. You talked about it already. Just throw the ball deep 30 yards on your boys right there.
He's going to be open. He's getting open, man, because everyone's paying attention to Mr. Diggs, who's filthy good right now also, even though he found himself open a couple weeks ago. But, yeah, I like that pick a lot. 2-1 for Gabe Davis still. Like, that's great. Love that. I'm just going the chalk, man. I'm taking Jamar. I left him off of the other props that we talked about and stuff, because I was like, I'll just take the -110 on a touchdown. I thought about putting the 2 touchdowns that I'm also betting on him in this parlay, but like we gotta get people some money, and we've got plenty of juice with what you guys are bringing here. I don't need to tell you everything as we already said about Jamar, but he's gonna get peppered with targets, and one feels like a great bet. Kenneth Walker would be good from that game too, but Jamar all day than this one.
I like that.
Yeah, no, I love both those spots right there. I'm going to add a little bit of flavor. We're getting a
Yeah.
little plus
Yeah.
money in here. I'm going the 49ers defense to score plus 500 is the best on market. You can get 450 or better pretty much every spot. This is not only the best defense in football, it's been the best scoring defense in football over the last 2 seasons, right? They're not just able to create turnovers in the traditional way like interceptions. This team also is crazy at generating fumbles. Like their linebacker core is so fast. They're so good. Hufunga, a ball hawk safety out there. There's just so much potential. And look what happened to this team, this Browns team, when they had a backup quarterback the other week, right? DTR absolutely collapsed. And you got to remember, like, Deshaun Watson was giving them well below average quarterback play already before he left, right? Via the advanced numbers, bottom 5 completion percentage over expectation. He was not giving them good quarterback play. So to see them fall that far down without Nick Chubb, their safety blanket, without Watson, I don't have any confidence that PJ is going to look comfortable. This is a guy that came over from the XFL. So just naturally, I was rooting for him. I watched him a lot. I want these guys to be stars because that would just be so cool, right? I saw a couple XFL games. I rooted for the journey. There's not much there. There really isn't, right? And it's just no reason for me to believe he's going to have a successful game. His interception is minus 220 right now. That's the best price you can get. I was trying to bet that on the show, but I can't give you guys a minus 220. So at that point, the sports books are pretty much baking in. They're expecting a pick, probably 2 picks in this game. It just seems like there's going to be so many opportunities. They can't turn to Jerome Ford, right? He's been stopped at the line of scrimmage more than any other running back in a per attempt basis in the league right now. He had that one monster run in prime time, and that's it. That's all we've seen. He's been being hit behind the line of scrimmage a lot. I know friend of both of ours, Brian versus the Bookies, was putting me onto that. He was telling me about, the Jerome Ford slander. And it's true. He's not looking great out there whatsoever. So I just don't see any way for this Browns offense to function. We talked about the team total early. I think that 49ers defense is a good way to take advantage of plus 500.
This is going to be a banger. Obviously, not every book is carrying Gabe Davis right now. But for anybody listening, make sure you go on our Twitter page, our X page, at Bankroll Blitz. Retweet the show, and then winner will win all of the money. We have already given out $400. So let's hope we can continue it. Any final words as we depart? I'm excited that you were able to join us, Stu.
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you for the invite. I mean, I sorry to make this go long, but that's kind of what I do. I love it. Around and I talk. We spend a lot of time looking at this stuff. So if you found any of that informative, Monotone Football on Twitter, I'm on the air every single day, doing it every day. Hopefully I can come on here again and talk with you guys. It's a lot of fun.
Hell yeah, man. It was a good time, dude. Yeah, you provided plenty of awesome value. Appreciate you going on. There was some good stuff in there. So I had a good time.
Awesome, guys. Everyone check it out. Make sure you rate, like, and subscribe. We'll be back next week. Take care.
Peace.